Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, born Araminta Minty Ross, was also known as the Moses of her people. She was born enslaved in February or March 1822 on the eastern shore of Maryland near Cambridge. When she was a child, she was hired out to different masters or hirers. The practice of hiring out enslaved people allowed the original enslaver to earn more money by entering into a contract with other enslavers or with those too poor to purchase enslaved people. Sadly, during the time she was hired out, she was beaten by the numerous people to whom she was hired. In 1849, she bravely escaped slavery by traveling at night through swamps, rivers, and forests. On her journey towards freedom, she followed Polaris, the stationary North Star in Ursa Minor, also known as the Little Dipper. And she used station stops on the Underground Railroad, which was a series of safe houses. Afterwards, she became a conductor in the Underground Railroad, and she made many dangerous trips to Maryland to bring her extended family and other enslaved people all the way to St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, near Niagara Falls. In addition to being an abolitionist and a suffragist, Harriet Tubman was a Civil War scout and a spy, which was very dangerous because she would have been hanged if caught. She was also a nurse, a much sought-after herbalist and root doctor who cured many diseases rampant in Union camps, including dysentery, which was the leading cause of death in the Civil War in the North and South. While she was in the Union Army, she supported herself by doing Union soldiers' laundry, being a cook for the Union Army by making 50 pies per night, and by selling her homemade root beer. With her earnings, she also supplied food and clothing to freed men and freed women. On June 2, 1863, Harriet Tubman guided abolitionist Colonel James Montgomery and his 2nd South Carolina Black Regiment up the Combahee River, which is near Hilton Head, South Carolina. She became the first and only woman to command an armed military raid to lead the U.S. military in battle. This tremendous and courageous effort resulted in the liberation of over 700 people who were enslaved. She used her wonderful singing voice to gather them onto the Union boats that took them to safety. Many of these enslaved people almost immediately volunteered to become Union Army soldiers. They and other black people made great contributions to the Civil War. Unfortunately, Harriet Tubman never received a pension for her spy and scouting work for the Union Army. However, in 1890, she did receive an $8 per month pension for being a nurse who risked her life on the battlefield and for having saved the lives of many soldiers with her herbal root medicines. After the Civil War, Harriet Tubman helped freed men and freed women find food and extended family. Additionally, she set up the John Brown Infirmary on her home of 12 acres in Auburn, New York, which was free for black people who could not afford to pay for services. She had an animal farm. She took poor and ill people who were formerly enslaved into her home in Auburn, New York at no cost. And she spoke in favor of civil rights for both black and white women at women's rights conventions throughout the northeastern United States. Harriet Tubman was an extraordinarily brave and unselfish person. Often at great risk to her own life, she devoted most of her entire life to help others. Special thanks to Dr. Pamela L. Poulin for her major contributions to the script of this video. Dr. Poulin is Professor Emerita, Peabody Conservatory of Music of Johns Hopkins University. To learn more about Harriet Tubman, please visit the websites below. Also, a Harriet Tubman paper doll kit as well as other historical paper doll kits are available at lvkpaperdolls.etsy.com. Thank you.